Hello, hello, welcome to season 4 of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast with one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and my illustrious guest this week is Jonny Green-Halsh. Is that right? Green-Halsh?
Spot on. Like the bakery.
Is it actually Green-Halsh?
Greenhouse, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I was like worried I wouldn't get that right.
I get everything from Green Hall to Green Hulk to sometimes people don't even bother. So, no, bang on.
Yeah. I tried. I genuinely looked at it today, like, how do I pronounce this right? So I've actually thought, I've done my research, did the little science experiments, got the outcome I wanted. You have decided to pick a topic for this DM season. What is that topic?
Today, motivation.
Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is about motivation in D&D. Motivation is hard to come by sometimes when regular life gets you down, or perhaps there's a player you're not looking forward to seeing. Either way, there's nothing a bunch of bananas and a condom can't fix. Jonny, licking angry snails is a must for me. Why won't girls talk to me? What am I doing?
I'm not licking enough snails, obviously. One of them's about to turn into a pretty girl one day.
Yeah, that's what I thought French kissing was. I don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. What can you do? Also, I love that how calm the response was. Like, yeah, I've got an answer for that. We've all licked a couple of snails.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Right, okay, and on to the next topic. All right, to the questions. When we talk about motivation in D&D, what are we getting at?
It can be a wide range of topics. It can be from like we were discussing just a little bit earlier, getting home from work after working all day and being like, I've got to prep for a session at the weekend, or I've not prepped for a session, it's in an hour, or anything from a problem player that you don't quite know how to approach, or a player that is having issues that has come to you and how you can get them over that hump as well.
Yeah. What can new DMs do to stay motivated, like in sessions or for sessions, really?
I mean, from my experience, I try and write stuff for my sessions that I would be excited to play as a player,
Yeah.
but then obviously because I'm not writing a novel, so I have to balance both sides of the coin and understand what will motivate my players. So more recently, I've started using something called a technique I picked up off the internet called stars and wishes. So
Okay.
after each session, I'll ask my players what they thought was good and what would motivate them to be even better in the next session as a player, or what could make me better as a player, as a DM.
Yeah, nice.
And they'd send me that back, and then I can take that. And maybe one of them says, I want to go more into the lore and background and backstory of my character. Can we bring that into a session? So slowly but surely, I'll build that in.
Yeah.
And then that gets them excited, which in turn then gets me excited and makes me want to do more and write more.
That's a really good way of looking at it, actually. We used to run a West Marches server, where like each channel is essentially like a location and they role play in that, like whether it's in session or off or not. And we used to do like feedback forms like after a one because they're all one shots essentially. Um, but to think about it for a campaign, I hadn't thought about the fact that it could be kind of formal outside of session and go, what did you like? What can I improve on? Or what would you like more of? I didn't think to like connect the dots there of doing that when it's outside of a one shot, you
So
know?
say knowing your world as well. So we're running in Faerun, Forgotten Realms,
Mm,
and we've got two drow in our
right.
Sunday session.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to learn more about this. So I started reading the Legend of Drizzt series. There's like 30 books or something.
Yeah.
I got halfway through the first one. I was like, I've got enough here to write them an entire like epic quest. And I've got this quest just sat there, and that keeps motivating me to get them excited. I keep dropping
Mm,
little tidbits in of where that's going, and they're really excited because I've sort of teased it to them that yeah, we're going to the Underdark. Yeah, we're gonna find out who your family are. Um, but not quite yet. So that they're all really motivated to keep playing, and it's just balancing that out and yeah, just being knowledgeable about what it is. Because I think if you approach something where you don't know where that's going,
Mm.
and I mean sometimes it does work. Don't get me wrong. Off the cuff stuff's great, but having just that background understanding of yeah, this is vaguely where it's going keeps you motivated and not lacking of ideas.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Like I try and plan all my sessions and I know that I could be writing 11. We've had this discussion on Discord where like I often will write like, I don't know, 11 to 18 pages. That's just kind of my thing. And I know it will only actually last about 3 hours, my session, despite all of that. But then they'll do the first sentence and that's it. That's my session. Like, they won't get any, and then that lasts literal weeks of playing. So it's good that like I think it's good to keep having that, keep having those 11 to 18 pages, not necessarily because that's the route they'll take, but um you kind of know their way of thinking. You've got something in the back of your head to kind of like pull out as a card if needed, and like you're saying, to just have something there rather than always off the cuff. And yeah, it's good to have that kind of like backstory knowledge of like what they do, what they want to do, where they come from, and that hopefully motivates you to keep like, doing things for them. That will kind of go into the next question, which is if players are struggling, what can a new DM do to support them? So I think originally when I wrote that question, I was thinking that what you've just answered, bringing something in that kind of like really makes them feel like they've got a reason to be there just as much as any of the rest of the party. There's like a special moment for them. But I think also we could approach that like if you go to work all day, you write the session, you turn up, you're really excited, and another player's actually had a hard day outside of that. This is from a new DM's perspective. Like, how does that new DM go? They're at the table, they've not been rude, but you can tell their head's somewhere else. Like, how do you support that? Do you do it in session or are you taking them to the side and seeing how they are?
I'd probably wait until the break. Um, what A, just so I didn't ruin the flow for the rest of the table,
Mm,
but B, just so I didn't feel like I was sort of singling them out in front of the group.
yeah,
Um, I mean, in our Sunday group, we've got quite a young player. It's the first time he's ever played, and sometimes I can see that he's getting a little bit frustrated because either the turns are taking a little bit too long, or he's not quite up to speed on his character sheet. He's still learning, so I do just little nods. Are you okay? Are you keeping up with everything? Is there anything I
mm,
can help you with your character? And then we come back to the table, and if I've answered the question, it helps him. Great. Another thing with that is we have a Discord server, which most D&D games have now. So they can always ask me questions on there or DM me on there.
yeah.
It's just keeping players engaged is number one, I think, for me.
Yeah, it's really hard to like kind of know how someone's thinking in that moment. Or it might be they're fine at first and then you can kind of see it take a turn, as games go on. And it's not necessary half the time when I've experienced it, it's actually not to do with the game. It's kind of like when they've got time before it's their turn, they've also got time to think. And when they've got
Yep.
time to think, they might be thinking about other things in their life. And then you're
Yeah.
like, I've actually kind of come here to like have a bit of a break, and then now I've got too much time to think about it. So
Yeah.
it can be
Definitely.
really hard, I guess. And we've said this on the podcast before, but like you're kind of like unpaid, uneducated therapist sometimes, where you're actually there to kind of like cheer yourself up by running it, and you get happy by seeing other people happy. They want to play something to escape the everyday, so that you're cheering them up. So it's proper hard. It's good, like it's important to read the room, isn't it? To see like, who needs to
Oh,
be, who don't.
100%. Real life, I've had a shit week this week. I've been to my session today and I've come back and I'm like absolutely beaming because my guys have all had a really good time. I've seen that they've had a good time. We had a couple of moments. We have a bit of an issue on our table with people speaking when it's not their turn, and that
Standard.
that that sends me absolutely west. My head can't process 16 different conversations. I don't do that. So we had a bit of a conversation about that, but then we flowed on. We flowed on, and they really enjoyed the session and they let me know about that. So that's ticked my week off and
Mm.
made me extra motivated to go into next week to make sure that session's even better.
Yeah, yeah. We do the same. I literally run my sessions on a Monday, and that's because arguably that's usually the worst day of the week, right? You've had the weekend, it was never enough. You get to Monday, you're instantly like, oh God, I'm here, like getting paid less than I should be. Someone's making millions off of me, and they're probably not, but you're like, you just assume they are. And then you're like, I can't believe this is the rest of the week. Then you just go to your session after work, and you're like, weeks fixed. I can go into it now. I've had a bit of time. Like you've just got something left of the weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
Uh,
My online session's normally on Tuesday where I'm a player,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I go to the office Monday, Tuesday, and I love my job. Don't get me wrong, but after 2 days of going into the office all day,
yeah,
getting to that session on a Tuesday night, it's just like yes.
yeah. It's not. It's normal to just want your time. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter whether you work full time or part time or don't work. It's there's going to be a moment where you go, I wish I could be doing that instead. And this kind of feels like you gain a bit of that back.
Definitely.
Um, all right. Could you give examples of where it's where when it's been tough to run sessions?
Last minute players not turning up.
Oh
We
yeah,
all know. We all know
famous.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not arguably people not turning up is more D&D than having dragons in your session.
Definitely. Another example: new players coming to the table, um, with a 75-page backstory
Yeah,
that
yeah,
isn't any relation to the campaign.
yeah.
Um, sorry, Brian.
But I mean, it's important though because like it's got to feel like you're all in the same place, and it might feel like it's my backstory, so it's my character, but that person's got to fit into what you're doing, right? So it's you can have the 75 pages, but it's got to at least make sense to the rest of the game.
Yeah, this backstory. He's a great player. I love him, but he was in the Himalayas in his backstory. I was like, the Himalayas don't exist.
Yeah. Cheers, Brian. His name's Brian, so yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I love him. But yeah, things like that. Me, if I'm in a bad mood,
Mm,
that makes running a session
yeah.
awful. You know. Um, but yeah, particularly like, especially if you spent going back to the players not to if you spent all week prepping a session that's focused around maybe one player, and then
Yeah.
that player is the player that doesn't turn up to the session.
I mean, once again, we've talked about it so many times on the podcast. The famous one is a guy called Morgan, who's not in our campaign anymore. He's like, probably, if there was like an AI to search the key terms on this podcast, it's probably his name that's come up the most. But he would make broken characters, usually rogues, who are like broken from like level 3. And you would make sessions that required him to be there, so he felt like a bit more for the party because he would be a rogue but then not do anything party based. And then you'd be like, right, they actually need you here. So I'm kind of forcing you into one, you get to use your broken build, like optimize it as much as you want in this case. That's brilliant. And two, whether you do it alone or not, you're really helping your party by doing what you're going to do with an optimized build. Doesn't turn up. And that happened multiple times. And then the next session he'd turn up and he'd be like, oh, it's not very there's no stealth in this. It's like, yeah, no shit, mate. It was the last session you weren't here.
Yeah, that and if I say a situational scenario goes across two sessions, and
Yeah,
somebody that wasn't in the previous session that was in the previous session doesn't turn up to the second session, or vice versa.
yeah,
So you're either having to account for them not being there, which then throws all your encounters off balance,
yeah,
or you again an extra player that
yeah.
then throws all your encounters off balance. So it's just like I really don't want to kill you guys, but
There is one person I want to
yeah,
kill.
yeah,
Yeah, but I guess the going back to it being about like as a new DM helping run those sessions that are tough, like getting the motivation, or for the players. That player Morgan doesn't turn up right, and the next session he turns up and he goes, "Well, this isn't very stealth based." It is kind of our job because he's there and we're still immersing people in this world to make him feel motivated, regardless of whether he's in the wrong or not, right? So
yeah,
that's a really hard thing to do, and I guess it's then on the fly thinking of ways that he can be useful in that session, or you weren't expecting that player to turn up for the next session. You've got less the encounter's too weak, you then have to bring something in on the fly to like kind of make it feel like they've got a reason to be there, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, this happened to me last week. We were a player down, um, but we were a player down, but then it threw the encounter off balance. So I pulled something out, but then I'd pulled too much out. So I was just like, what can I do? What can I do? And earlier on, they'd been talking about beholders. So I can't
Mm.
drop a beholder in. They're only level 5. So I dropped a spectator in, and I was like, oh yeah, this will solve everything. They wiped it in a turn.
Yeah. All
So
right. Two spectators,
yeah,
three
so
spectators. Yeah.
sometimes you've just got to go with the rolls as well. And like for situations where maybe somebody's saying, "Oh, there's not enough stealth in this,"
Mm.
or you're gonna throw in an extra roll. Oh yeah, you're gonna have to go down this corridor still. Roll me a stealth check, and
Yeah.
sometimes that can just be enough,
It's
just
just
so
so
they
to like
think,
prick their ears. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like just hearing their name whilst they're waiting at the table is to like bring them back in.
yeah,
Yeah,
little
definitely.
hooks, little tidbits,
Yeah,
and then you're
definitely.
not having to change everything like drastically. It's just a little switch.
Yeah, it is tough, and it's a hard one. You could be having the best, you could have the best year of your life, and you could every week's good. Um, you don't have to work. You're a millionaire. You're running sessions whenever you fancy it for that one campaign, so it's flowing. And it's still there might be a day where you don't feel motivated to be there and do things, or there's a player that isn't on the same wavelength as everyone else that day. You know.
Yeah.
Um, all right, last question. Have you experienced a lack of motivation for D&D at any point? You know, like you've been like, do you know what? It would be nice to just have a week off from writing the session next because you play in two sessions, right? Two campaigns, or you
So
play in one and you
I,
run one.
yeah. So I feel like I get that more so for my campaign as a player
Yeah,
because sometimes after 2 days of going to the office, I'm just knackered.
yeah,
And everyone that I play with are amazing, but they're based in the States and they're based
right.
on the West Coast,
Yeah,
East
yeah.
Coast, not
West
East
Coast,
Coast.
California side.
Yeah, no, they're East Coast. So it's
Yeah,
only 5 hours.
yeah,
But like when I'm wanting to play at 9, it's only like 4 o'clock for them. And
yeah.
one of our DM's a teacher, so he's rushing home from school to run the session, and then like a couple of them are in college, so they might have like booked out of lectures early to get to the session and stuff like that. And I'm just like, it's a great group, but sometimes like after just 2 days in the office, I'm just like, can we play on Thursday, guys?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it is like that. And I don't really feel that for DMing because of what I do in my professional life. You have to be quite organized, and
Mm,
it's more of an addiction than a job. I work in social media, and it's about planning and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I'm quite an organized person. I like getting things down on paper, and I have this. I mean, I've shown you guys on Discord this tool that I use, and it's like amazing. My campaign notes look like a D&D book. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. It does
so
look incredible.
it's it's really really fun, and I have fun. Just it's like making art for me. So it's like a
Yeah.
so yeah. I've not run out of steam yet, but ask me again in 3 months.
Yeah, I'll bring you back on for the next season to
As
no,
Johnny burned out.
yeah, yeah, that's the topic. Yeah.
This won't be alcohol free then.
That's it. Let's see him 6 weeks from now. Yeah. But yeah, I think that is quite often the case. I felt like I don't get to play that often anymore other than DMing. But I feel like it's way tougher sometimes turning up to play, even a one shot, because there's really not a lot of weight on your shoulders. Whereas as a DM, if you don't plan it, it's just not happening. Like, do you know what I mean? And so actually, you just like you said, you work in social media anyway. You've already connected it to be a bit like work. So whether that was on purpose or not, so you go, well, I just have to do that. So it doesn't. It's
That's,
not as hard. It's way easier as a player to just be like, all I've got to do is turn up, and they could easily do it without me. And that's not the case because you got DMs going, well, when the players don't turn up, it's not great. You
yeah.
know,
If
it's
only they
which is
could listen
stressful.
into conversations like this, eh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to listen to this and take our own advice.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, well, today's adventure is sadly coming to a close, but we're back again next week with a topic. I went to primary school, I went to secondary school. When does tertiary school start? And do I need a pencil case? And and as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at How to Play D&D or check out the link in our bio. Join our Discord server. Johnny, do you have anywhere to promote your stuff you can say or send links over and I'll put it in the podcast bio as well.
I've got an Instagram page and a Blue Sky page that I run just for fun called Big Dice Energy.
Perfect.
Dice.
We'll
That's
send the link.
dice.
Yeah. We'll put it on the podcast link then so people can check that out. Okay. Yeah, I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Johnny.
Good day.